Callie Moore was kneading dough at dawn, the rhythmic fold of flour and water her daily ritual of solace. The bakery's ovens glowed behind her, promising warmth for a world that often felt cold. Then her phone buzzed against the wooden countertop, brittle like a warning. She wiped her hands on her apron and glanced at the screen. A message from Zane. Her heart fluttered, imagining a sweet confession or a morning greeting. Instead, the words cut sharper than broken glass. "We were never together. I'm sorry." Her breath caught in her throat. Flower motes danced in the slant of early sunlight, mocking her shock. She reread the message. Once. Twice. Each time, disbelief mounted until her vision blurred. She tapped her nails against the phone case. Zane had promised, had begged her to trust him, to keep it just between them. They spent nights laughing over stale coffee in her cramped kitchen, whispering dreams above the hum of her refrigerator. He swore she was the only one. She believed him. She pressed her forehead to the cool wood, closing her eyes. Memories flooded, sweet and charged, the way his hand brushed her cheek, the hush of birdsong he coaxed from her. She remembered his laugh, soft and urgent. Then fear, a wrenching fear that clawed at her chest. She was alone, pregnant with his baby, and abandoned by a man who never truly existed. Her assistant, Fleur, appeared with 2 coffees. "Morning, Callie," Fleur said, peering over the counter. "Big order today." Callie managed a shaky smile. Yeah, big day." Fleur's brow furrowed. "You okay?" Callie nodded, but her eyes were distant. She picked up her phone again, thumb hovering over Zane's contact. She needed answers. He owed her more than 6 words. Her pulse pounded as she rubbed a hand over her belly, feeling both connection and dread. She thought of the ultrasound scheduled in 2 weeks, when she would see the flicker of life she carried. Would she see Zane's eyes? Or a stranger? Sunlight glinted off a row of copper pans hanging above the prep table, each glimmer a reminder that her life had once been orderly. Now chaos had invaded her sanctuary. She inhaled, letting the aroma of rising bread calm her racing mind. Each breath reminded her she had survived hardships before, losing her mother at 16, rebuilding her small bakery from scratch, bearing witness to her grandmother's quiet resilience. She would endure this too. Her phone vibrated. Another unknown number. She stared at it, torn between fear and determination. Was it a threat? A clue? She shook her head, setting the phone face down. The day's orders awaited. Customers would come expecting warmth and sweetness. She would not disappoint them. She remembered her father's words. Rise after you fall. Fleur placed the coffees down silently. The steam curled between them. Callie inhaled deeply, savoring the smell of roasted beans mingling with yeast and flour. It grounded her. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice steadier now. "Call me if you need a break," Fleur said softly, giving her a small, knowing nod. Callie smiled, genuine this time. She had work to do. The first light of dawn streamed through the windows, illuminating the kneaded dough that awaited her touch, and the countless questions that demanded answers. Outside, the morning market teemed with early shoppers and vendors. Callie imagined their bright produce and eager faces while standing behind her counter, pondering how to hide her turmoil. She swallowed hard, determined to face the day head-on. Stay strong always. Callie spent the rest of the morning in a haze of rolling pin and mixer blades. Each loaf that slid from the oven felt heavier than the last, coated in the weight of unspoken dread. At noon, she slipped into the back office to return a supplier's call, and froze when her own phone screen glowed with no service. Her thumb hovered above the signal bars. She tried again. Nothing. She rebooted. Nothing. Panic flickered through her chest. She tapped the phone against her palm, willing it to connect. Fleur peeked in. "Everything okay?" Callie forced a nod. I'll be right out." She strode past customers waiting for pastries, out the front door, and into the bright sunshine. She rifled through her bag for her keys, then stopped. Her breath caught. She didn't have keys. Zane's keys. The small latchkey that had hung from her wrist all summer, dangling with the hope of weekend getaways and midnight confessions. The apartment had been his sanctuary, and hers. Now the absence of those keys was the loudest alarm she'd ever heard. She hailed a taxi to the building he'd given her address for. Every bump in the road sent tremors through her chest, as if her heart knew the truth before she could see it. The cab pulled up before a sleek urban complex with reflective windows. 2 paces from the curb, Callie froze. The ground floor apartment door was ajar. She swallowed hard and pushed it open. The place was spotless, too spotless. No shoes by the rack, no stray coffee mug on the table. His guitar case, once propped against the wall, was gone. His coat, his books, even that half-finished painting by the window, all vanished. Her pulse pounded. She flicked on the living room light. Nothing. No sign that anyone ever lived here. Even the faint scent of his cologne, which used to linger in the air like a secret promise, had evaporated. She stepped into the hallway toward the property manager's office down the corridor. The receptionist looked up. Her gaze was polite but empty. "Can I help you?" Callie's voice trembled. I'm looking for Zane Mercer. He lives in apartment 107. The receptionist's eyes were blank. "No one by that name is on our tenant list." Callie blinked. "But there was a lease. He showed me the mailbox key." Her words dissolved. The receptionist gestured at the computer. Callie watched as the name, Zane Mercer, failed to populate. The line cursor blinked at her, impatient and unyielding. Downstairs, she confronted the building superintendent. He was a hulking man with a face as weathered as old leather. When she mentioned Zane, he scratched his head. "Never heard of him. No Mercer ever rented here." Callie closed her eyes, remembering his laughter in this very lobby. How he spun her around beneath the chandelier. Memories felt like shards in her skull, sharp, fragmented. She left, legs shaking, retracing her steps to the taxi stand. On the street, her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Stop looking for him." Her blood ran cold. The street lamps flickered in the high-ceilinged mall across the road. She scanned the crowd, shoppers, office workers, a child tugging at her mother's hand. No one met her eyes. No one acknowledged the dread pulsing beneath her skin. She walked until she reached her bakery again, where the smell of fresh bread comforted her. Inside, Fleur was stacking cake boxes. She glanced up. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Callie swallowed, blinking hard. "I went to his apartment. It was empty. Nobody named Zane Mercer ever lived there." Fleur's lips parted in shock. "What?" Callie sank into a chair. "He ghosted me. Completely vanished." Fleur reached across the counter and squeezed her hand. "We'll figure it out." Callie nodded, but in her chest, the seeds of doubt were planting deep roots. He had lied. She had been the fool. And now, every raw memory, every laugh, every promise, felt like poison. That evening, Callie wandered into the police station, her arms full of notes and screenshots. The glare of fluorescent lights bounced off the white-tiled walls as she approached the front desk. A burly desk sergeant glanced up. "How can I help you?" he asked, pen poised. She exhaled shakily. "I need to report someone missing. His name is Zane Mercer." He frowned. "Missing? Did you know him personally?" We were together for months. He texted me, said we were never together. Then he disappeared." She passed her phone across the counter. The sergeant scanned the text. He tapped at his keyboard. "Do you have identification details?" "His driver's license. Number is here." She rifled through her bag and handed him a laminated photo she'd taken of his license under the cafe's lamplight. The sergeant typed again. His brow furrowed. "Mercer, no record. Try again." Callie's heart thudded. "Please." He ran it a second time. Still nothing. No birth record, no registrations. I'm not finding a Zane Mercer in any database." Silence stretched between them. Callie's throat tightened. "You're saying he doesn't exist?" The sergeant looked uncomfortable. "I'm saying there's no public record. And the license you provided? It doesn't match any state or national format." He handed the card back. The seal on the plastic was off-center, almost imperceptibly skewed. She stared at the license, the edges crumpling in her fingers. "He gave it to me." The sergeant sat back. "Ma'am, if he never existed on record, then this isn't a missing person case we can track. If he used an alias, We can't help. Then what am I supposed to do? Her voice cracked. He leaned forward. I suggest you contact a private investigator. She nodded numbly and left, the license torn and useless. Outside, the cool dusk air bit her cheeks as she crumpled it in her hand and tossed it into a storm drain. Back in her apartment, she scoured her phone for clues. Every text, photo, calendar reminder. Nothing led to a real identity. No mutual friends. No trace of his past. She flipped through her messages to a conversation last week. Callie, I love you. Zane, I know. But someday you might hate me. Remember tonight. She shuddered. Why would he warn her? What had she gotten herself into? Her phone pinged. An email from an address she didn't recognize. Subject, proof. Attachment, a single image. Her baking cupcakes earlier that day. Captured from outside the bakery window. She stared at it. Someone was watching her. Someone who knew her schedule, knew her routines. Callie sank to the floor, the email open. The timestamp, 5:12 p.m., just 2 hours ago. Someone had been outside, photographing her, without her knowledge. A text arrived. Stop digging. Her stomach clenched. He was watching, whoever he was. She felt exposed, prey in a spotlight. She grabbed her coat and keys. If the police wouldn't help, she would find someone who could, and fast. She needed proof that Zane Mercer was real, that her child had a father. In the half-lit parking lot, she paused under a flickering lamp. Her reflection in the car's hood was haunted, eyes rimmed red, mouth set in a determined line. She tucked her phone in her pocket. I will find you, she whispered into the night. And as she walked away, her resolve hardened. She would uncover the lies, even if it meant tearing down every safe corner of her life. Sleep eluded Callie that night. Every creak of her apartment felt like footsteps in the hall. At 3 a.m., she slipped from bed, pulled on jeans and a sweatshirt, and returned to her kitchen. She needed clarity. She flipped on under-cabinet lights and brewed strong black tea. Steam curled from the mug, a promise of warmth. Her gaze drifted to the unopened brown envelope she'd found tucked beneath her door moments ago. No name. No return address. Just her first name scrawled in an unfamiliar hand. Her heart thumping, she slid it open. Inside, a folded scrap of paper lay crooked. His handwriting. If you love me, don't trust anyone. Even yourself. The words pulsed with urgency. She recognized a slanted script, the loops on his G, and the sharp angles of his T. But why would he hide a note here? Why the warning? Her tea went cold as she unfolded the rest of the letter. Beneath the warning, in smaller print, meet me where the river bends. Midnight. Come alone. She crumpled the note in her fist. Memories flashed. Moonlight dancing on the river during their first date. The way he'd drawn her close, whispering about secrets too dark for daylight. She dialed Fleur's number. Callie, I got a note, she said breathlessly. She read it aloud. There was a long pause. It's dangerous, Fleur whispered. I know. Don't go alone. Please. Callie blew out a shaky breath. I have to. At midnight the next day, she stood at the river bend behind her grandmother's old farmhouse. The moon was a silver shard, slicing through drifting clouds. The water churned slowly, reflecting starlight. She hugged her coat tighter, scanning the bank. No one. Just reeds swaying in the breeze, frogs croaking the night's lullaby. She checked her phone, exactly midnight. A twig snapped. She spun, heart lodged in her throat. Zane emerged from the shadows, gaunt and pale, his eyes sunken but fiery. He looked older than the man she'd known. His shirt was stained, blood or rust, she couldn't tell. My God, she breathed. He brushed past her. It's not safe here. She reached out. Why the note? Why all this mystery? He laughed, bitter and hollow. You ask questions. I deserve answers. He advanced, stopping just out of reach. If they see you with me, you won't just lose me. You'll lose everything. Her blink-back tears reflected in the river's surface. I'm already losing everything. He surveyed the empty bank. They're looking for me. Looking for you. Who? He hesitated, gaze on the moonlit water. I can't tell you. Her heart lurched. You can't keep me in the dark. Not when. A distant flash of headlights illuminated them. A black SUV coasted onto the dirt path. Its engine idled. Headlights swung off, then on again. Zane grabbed her hand. Run. She stumbled forward as he yanked her into the woods. Gravel crunched underfoot. She glanced back. A dark shape emerged from the SUV's passenger side, gun gleaming. They sprinted between ancient oaks, breath ragged. Zane pulled her deeper, guiding her by elbow and urgency. They reached a fallen log. He pushed her over it and turned. Stay, he hissed. She clutched his jacket. Not without you. He nodded once. Hide. They crouched in the brush, hearts hammering. The SUV's tires crunched nearby. A man in a suit surrounded by moonlight stepped out, scanning. Callie pressed herself flat, every nerve screaming. Zane slid closer, whispering, If you love me, don't trust anyone. She braced herself. Whatever this was, this war in shadows, she would face it. For her baby. For him. Callie woke before dawn wrapped its first light around the sky. She replayed the riverbend ambush, every detail magnified. Then she plunged into her day's work, baking, serving, smiling, while her mind drifted back to their first encounter. It had been months ago, before the bakery's grand reopening. Callie had stayed late, reorganizing ingredient jars by color. Cinnamon, turmeric, paprika. The humming of the refrigerator was her only company when a sharp knock rattled the back door. She peered through the frosted glass. A man, drenched, blood seeping through his shirt. He leaned heavily against the doorframe, breathing unevenly. She hesitated. Protocol screamed to call 911, but something in his eyes, desperate, pleading, made her open the door instead. Please, he rasped, stammering over a whisper. I need help. She led him inside, placing him on a stool by the counter. She grabbed towels and pressed one to his side. His blood painted her palms red. My name's Zane, he gasped. No ambulance. No ambulance. She squeezed the towel. You're bleeding badly. He shook his head, pain flickering across his features. They'll find me. Who? He winced. If they know I survived, they'll come for me. She dropped to her knees. Then at least let me clean this up. She wet another towel, dabbing gently. He closed his eyes, leaning into the cold cloth. Thank you. She noticed the silver bracelet on his wrist, engraved with coordinates. What's this? He bolted upright, eyes wild. Nothing. Forget you saw it. His breath hitched. She placed a hand on his arm. I can help you, but you need to trust me. He stared at her, the shop's warm light softening his features. She saw a flicker of relief amid the pain. He exhaled raggedly. Promise. She nodded. I promise. He studied her earnest face. I'm sorry, this is dangerous. Let me be the judge. He closed his eyes. One night. One night to disappear, she asked quietly. His gaze met hers, haunted. Yes. After that, you won't see me. She pressed the towel tighter. I won't let you leave like this. He brushed her hand away gently. Please. Her chest tightened. She moved to fetch her phone. Fine. No ambulance. But you stay here. He managed a shaky laugh. Thank you. Callie. She froze. You know my name. He blinked, surprised. You told me once. On my wrist. They locked eyes. She realized the bracelet's coordinates pointed to her grandmother's farm, out by the river. That place. He winced. Don't go there. Her heart throbbed in her ears. Why not? He leaned forward, voice low. Because I promised one night. After that, you must never look back. Lightning crackled outside. Rain pounded the windows. She swallowed. I'll stay. He closed his eyes, exhaustion overtaking him. Thank you. She sank onto a stool, watching him drift into a restless sleep. She brushed a strand of hair from his forehead. In that moment, she vowed to protect him, no matter the cost. And though she couldn't know it then, that decision would rewrite both their fates. Callie stared at her reflection in the diner's restroom mirror, tracing the coordinates inked above her ankle. 38.8977 degrees north, 77.0365 degrees west. It was Washington, D.C., the nation's heart. But to her it was the epicenter of everything broken about Zane's life. She slid her stocking down, revealing the sleek, black tattoo he'd shown her in a fever dream. His voice had trembled as he said, "Find me there, if you dare." Tonight she decided she would dare. She slid into the corner booth. Fleur, her best friend, stared at the tattoo through the steamed window. "What if it's a trap?" Fleur whispered, her knuckles white around her coffee mug. Callie flicked on her phone's map app. "It's a burned-down cabin, Fleur. Police taped it off 6 months ago. No explanation." Her voice trembled with equal parts fear and exhilaration. "I have to know why those coordinates are on me." Fleur reached across the table, squeezing Callie's hand. "Then let me come with you." Callie hesitated. "If they see more than one person snooping, they'll know you warned me. They'll hurt you." Fleur shook her head. "We go together or not at all." Callie inhaled, tasting the bitter swirl of coffee and dread. "Okay, together." She slid off her stool. "I called a night bus. It leaves at midnight." The bus roared through deserted highways under a moonless sky. Callie pressed her forehead against the glass, watching taillights shrink into pinpricks. She replayed Zane's last warning. Don't trust anyone. But she'd broken that promise. She'd trusted Fleur and herself. At an unmarked stop, near an overgrown dirt road, they disembarked. The night air was damp and cold, rustling skeletal trees. Fleur clicked on her flashlight. "Stay close." Callie nodded, clutching her coat around her belly. Each step was a promise to her unborn child. "I will protect you, even if I'm terrified." They reached the clearing and saw it in the beams flicker. A skeletal cabin, charred beams jutting like broken ribs. The yellow police tape whispered in the breeze. "Crime scene." Callie swallowed. "We go in quick. Look for anything with his handwriting." They stepped over the threshold. Inside, charred floorboards groaned underfoot. Ash dusted the remnants of a table. Fleur's flashlight picked out a metal box, wedged beneath the rubble. Callie knelt, pried it free. Rust crunched under her fingers as she snapped it open. Inside were stacks of documents stamped Project Seraphim, schematics of DNA helixes, entwined with human silhouettes and electric circuitry. A leather-bound journal lay atop the papers. Callie flipped it open. On the first page, in Zane's handwriting, "I am not just a man. I am Protocol Iris. They built me." Her heart pounded so loudly she thought the other documents might hear. She scrolled through more pages, chemical formulas, hormone graphs, and sketches of a fetus glowing with bioluminescent veins. A sudden scrape behind them froze her blood. Fleur's flashlight beam swung to reveal a man emerging from the shadows, tall, gaunt, eyes icy with recognition. "You shouldn't be here," he rasped. Callie's breath caught. The man's face was too familiar, the very face Zane had shown her in a grainy photo, one he'd begged her to destroy. "Who are you?" she demanded. He stepped closer, voice low. "I'm the one who knew Zane Mercer before he became Iris." He extended a crooked hand. "Call me Eli." As the wind moaned through the cracked timbers, Callie realized with a jolt. The answers were here, but so were the dangers she could never have imagined. The man, Eli, led them out of the burned cabin and into the moonlit clearing. Callie's pulse thrummed like a war drum. "How do you know him?" she demanded, voice echoing among the skeletal trees. Eli's eyes glinted. "He warned me about you." His gaze flicked to Fleur. "And he trusted you enough to send you here." Callie felt a chill. "He sent me here? Why?" Eli's face twisted with regret. Zane was afraid. Too many questions kept piling up. He thought that if you reached this place, you'd understand. Fleur stepped forward. "Understand what?" Eli kicked at a shard of charred wood. "That Zane Mercer never existed. He was never born a man. He was constructed, programmed." He paused, as though tasting the words. "Protocol Iris." Callie's stomach lurched. "Protocol Iris, like the papers." Eli nodded. "When I met him, he was just Lucas Varelli, a test subject. They implanted him with enhancements, memory wipes, experimental genetics. His tattoo, it was coordinates to this cabin, his only link to his origin." Callie gripped her journal. "He gave me his life story in fragments. He was terrified someone would find him." Eli spat on the ground. "You have no idea. They hunted us both for knowing too much." Callie's breath caught. Why didn't he tell me? Eli shrugged. He thought love might make you vulnerable. That's why he vanished. Fleur pressed her hand to her mouth. He said don't trust anyone, but not why. Eli's gaze sharpened. He knew they'd use your child to bait him back. They always do. Callie's fists clenched. My baby a bait? Eli placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. They'll stop at nothing. That's why Zane sent you here. To warn you. To prepare you. Callie's vision blurred. The ground tilted beneath her. So what now? Eli reached into his coat, pulling out a small USB drive. Everything you need. Plans. Names. Dates. But once you plug it in, they'll know you have it. Callie took the drive, her fingers trembling. How can I trust you? Eli's lip quivered. Because he asked me to protect you. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled photograph of a younger, smiling Zane, free of fear. He always said you were his one chance at a normal life. Callie swallowed hard. She glanced at Fleur, whose eyes brimmed with tears. We have to get this to someone who can expose them. Eli's gaze darted down the dark road. There is a journalist in D.C. She's safe, relatively. But getting there is the hard part. Fleur squared her shoulders. Then we start planning tonight. Callie slipped the drive into her boot. First, we get out of here. Eli nodded. Follow me. They slipped into the trees, leaving the cabin's burning skeleton behind. Callie's mind raced. Expose the conspiracy. Save Zane. Protect her child. Each step felt heavier with responsibility, but she would bear it all. For love. For truth. A distant engine growled. Florence's flashlight beam quivered. They froze. Eli whispered, They're closer than you think. They ducked behind a stand of pines as headlights sliced through the darkness. Callie pressed her back to the rough bark, clutching the USB drive like a lifeline. Fleur's breath came shallow and fast. Eli whispered, They sent a black van. Surveillance unit. Probably looking for loose ends. He paused, scanning the tree line. We need to move. Callie's heart hammered. How many are there? Eli's face drained of color. More than 2. They coordinate with drones and local police. Once they suspect a leak, they act fast. Fleur's voice trembled. So this is bigger than we thought. Eli exhaled sharply. Protocol Iris is a global program. Cutting-edge genetic warfare, birthed by a coalition of corporations and agencies. Zane was the first successful prototype. You're carrying the second. Callie's stomach constricted. My baby hybrid? Eli's gaze softened. Better than human, the program boasts. But extraordinary requires control. They won't stop until they reclaim both of you. A rumble of tires sent shivers down their spines. The black van lurched onto the dirt path, doors sliding open. 2 figures emerged, faces concealed under hoods, flashlights trained on the woods. I told you. Eli muttered. They won't let us walk away. Callie swallowed. Where do we go? Eli pointed. There's a service road 200 meters east. Follow me. Stay low. They sprinted, crouched, branches whipping their faces. Behind them, the van's headlights bobbed. Flashlights swept the trees. Callie stumbled over roots, pain flaring in her ankle tattoo. She bit back a cry, determined to protect her child. They reached the road's entrance, a rutted path leading toward a small ranger station. Eli dashed ahead, signaling them to hurry. Fleur faltered. Callie grabbed her arm. Come on. As they reached the ranger station's fence, a door creaked. A uniformed ranger stepped out, startled. Hey, what? Eli raised a hand. I'm a friend. This way. He led them through a back gate left ajar. The ranger hesitated, then nodded and waved them through, oblivious to the lurking van. Inside the station, the fluorescent lights hummed overhead. A map of forest trails was tacked to the wall. Callie pressed her palm to it. We can cut through here, back roads to D.C. Eli studied the routes. It's a 6-hour drive. Probably 8 with detours. Fleur sank her forehead to the table. We can't rest. Eli shook his head. They'll track our phones. We need to ditch them and go dark. Callie's pulse quickened. I'll drive. I know how to handle back roads. Eli smiled grimly. Good. But first, I have something you must hear. He retrieved a small recorder from his pocket. This has Zane's final message, just for you. He pressed play. Zane's voice, distraught but clear, filled the room. Callie, if you're hearing this, I'm gone. They found me. I don't know where they'll take me, or if I'll survive. But you must protect our child. Don't trust anyone. They'll promise safety, but they lie. Head to D.C. Find Dr. Adrienne Chun at Georgetown. She's the only ally I have left. Use this evidence. Promise me you'll fight. The playback ended with a soft sob. Callie's tears fell freely. He's alive somewhere. Eli placed a hand on her shoulder. But he needs you more than ever. Callie tucked the USB drive and recorder into her jacket. Let's go save him. Fleur nodded, eyes fierce. For Zane. For the baby. Eli led them back to the fence. Above them, the station security cameras blinked red. Callie exhaled, steeling herself. The war had only just begun. They emerged onto the service road at dawn's first light, pale lavender bleeding into gray. Callie's borrowed sedan idled at the clearing's edge, keys dangling in the ignition. She slipped in, her mind racing. One wrong move, and the black van would be on them again. Fleur climbed into the passenger seat, clutching a thermos of stale coffee. Eli took the back seat, lay of wire recorder and USB drive between them like treasure. Callie turned the key. The engine growled to life, tires crunching gravel as she eased onto the narrow road. She glanced in the rearview mirror. Nothing at first, then. Headlights materializing in the distance. The black van. Its engine droned, trailing them like a vulture. Callie's grip on the wheel whitened. Hold on, she murmured. She accelerated, swerving onto a secondary path flagged on Eli's map. It wound through dense pine forests, roots cracking under the tires. The van followed relentlessly, its beams slicing through mist and branches. I know a shortcut, Callie said, voice tight. Take the old logging trail. She swung onto a muddy track, tires spitting dirt. The van's lights wavered but remained on their tail. Fleur's lungs burned. They won't stop. Eli leaned forward. They're testing you, seeing how far you'll run before you break. Callie swallowed. We're not stopping. She pumped the accelerator, splashing through puddles. Tree limbs scraped the windows, stealing breath. Suddenly, the van screeched, spinning off the trail. It reemerged, straddled in a ditch. Callie slammed brakes. The van fishtailed, engine revving, then lurched forward. Right at them. Down! Eli yelled. Callie jammed the car into reverse, tires screeching as she backed up. The van rammed into the rear bumper, jolting them. The horn blared. Callie threw the car into drive and peeled away, adrenaline surging. They burst onto a paved county road. Callie floored it, weaving between abandoned barns. Behind them, the van's silhouette remained, persistent as a shadow. She risked a glance. The passenger window rolled down, a dark figure raising a rifle. Duck! Fleur screamed. Callie ducked as a shot rang out, shattering the windshield's far corner. Glass exploded across the dashboard. The baby's seatbelt strap caught against the steering wheel. Callie's knuckles screamed as she steered. She veered onto a service bridge. Halfway across, she slammed the brakes. The van lurched to a halt at the bridge's entrance. The shooter stepped out, rifle raised. Callie's heart pounded. She killed the engine and turned off the lights. Darkness swallowed the road. The van's engine idled, guns clicking as they cocked. Callie exhaled slowly. She reached into her jacket, pulled out the recorder with Zane's voice. She pressed play. His words echoed across the empty bridge. Head to D.C., find Dr. Chun. Trust no one but her. She shut off the recorder. We're not running anymore. Fleur's wide eyes met hers. Eli nodded, resolve hardening. Callie honked the horn. The bridge's lone lamppost flickered on. She stepped out, hands raised. Stop, she called. Her voice echoed. A figure hesitated at the van's door. Callie advanced. I have proof. I'm not the threat. They are. She held up the recorder. Listen. The rifle lowered, then the other figures stepped out into the lamplight. 3 in dark tactical gear. Their faces were expressions puzzled by defiance. Callie's pulse hammered, but her voice stayed firm. Let us pass. We're delivering evidence to Georgetown. The children you chase are not weapons. They're living beings. Silence stretched. Then, slowly, one figure lifted his comm device. Command, target is broadcasting. No further engagement. They backed into the van and drove off. Callie exhaled, knees trembling. Fleur wrapped her arms around her. Eli placed a hand on Callie's shoulder. They're listening. He nodded toward the city skyline shimmering ahead. Time to finish this. The morning sun slanted through the clinic's blinds as Callie sat on the examination table, her hospital gown crisp against her skin. Fleur squeezed her hand. Nearby, Eli offered a reassuring smile, though his tension mirrored her own. Dr. Nazir, an obstetrician with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, reviewed the ultrasound technician's notes. Callie, we're ready for your scan. His voice was gentle but curious. Callie nodded, swallowing hard. Every memory of Zane's warning swirled through her mind. Your baby isn't supposed to exist. She slipped onto the exam bed, heart racing. The technician, Mia, applied the gel to Callie's belly. Just relax and breathe. We'll get a clear image. The transducer hummed softly as it traced patterns across her skin. Callie stared at the screen as grainy shapes emerged, bones, fluid, a beating heartbeat. Relief flooded her. Her baby was alive, strong. She exhaled, eyes misting. Then Mia's brow furrowed. That's odd. She moved the probe, angling differently. The heart fluttered fast, but the rest of the scan lit up in unexpected ways. Luminous streaks, shapes that didn't align with normal anatomy. Dr. Nazir leaned in, adjusting the monitor's contrast. Mia freeze frame. He studied the image, jaw tightening. Can you print this, please? Callie's pulse thundered. What's wrong? She whispered. Dr. Nazir cleared his throat. It's nothing to panic over. But the patterns we're seeing, they're irregular. The cardiac structure appears more complex, additional chambers. He exchanged a look with Mia. You've run into this before. Mia shook her head, eyes wide. Never like this. It looks almost engineered. Callie's hand flew to her mouth. Engineered. Her voice shook. But that's impossible. Dr. Nazir placed a calming hand on her shoulder. I've performed hundreds of ultrasounds. This is unprecedented. Maybe it's a rare anomaly. We need genetic testing. He jotted notes. I'll refer you to a specialist. Eli's phone buzzed. He glanced at the message, lips tightening. Dr. Adrienne Chun has confirmed our meeting, tonight. Georgetown Hospital. Callie closed her eyes. The stakes had just skyrocketed. Her baby, her child, was different. More than human. Was Zane right? Mia replaced the probe. I'm so sorry, Callie. You'll need an MRI and blood work. We'll get to the bottom of this. Callie pulled off the gown and dressed quickly. Fleur slipped an arm around her waist. We'll face whatever comes. Eli gathered their folders. Prep for tonight. Dr. Chen trusts this data. She can help. Callie's throat burned with determination. Then we don't waste time. As they left the exam room, Callie touched her belly, feeling the impossible life growing inside. The hall lights gleamed above, cold, sterile, yet full of promise. She squared her shoulders. We're close, she said softly. I can feel it. Outside, the city pulsed with traffic and ambition. Callie climbed into the car, resolve crystallizing like steel. Tonight, they would unravel the conspiracy and fight for her child's right to live free. And in her heart, she whispered to the tiny life within, You are not a weapon. You are my miracle. Callie sat rigidly in the sterile genetics lab. White walls humdrum under fluorescent light. Dr. Adrienne Chun, a petite woman with steely eyes and a silver streak in her hair, slid a sealed envelope across the counter. These are your paternity results, she said softly. Her breath hitched. Fleur hovered beside her, clutching Callie's hand. Even Eli, who stood behind them, looked tense. Callie nodded and tore open the envelope. Inside was a single sheet, blood type, genetic markers, and a glaring note. No match found. She stared. No match found. Her voice trembled. That means... Dr. Chen sighed, adjusting her glasses. We ran your baby's DNA against every profile in the national and international human genome databases. There's no paternal match. Not a single known human share. She paused. Callie, your child's genome contains sequences that are novel. Callie's pulse thundered. Novel. As in engineered. Dr. Chen hesitated, then nodded. The patterns suggest targeted insertion of exogenous genetic material, possibly synthesized. I've never seen anything like it. She tapped the report. This isn't a mutation. It's deliberate. Fleur's eyes filled. So Zane was right. It wasn't natural. Callie closed her eyes, pressing her palm to her mouth. Every memory of Zane's whispered warnings flooded back. The whispered brimstone promise. They'll come for the child. Eli cleared his throat. Dr. Chen, can you help us understand what synthesized means here? Dr. Chen nodded, expression grave. It means someone engineered segments of the genome, likely to enhance certain traits, accelerated growth, neurological augmentation, perhaps even immune resilience. She tapped the phrase Project Seraphim on Callie's USB notes. These documents match what I've seen in clandestine research proposals. Human plus concepts. Callie lifted her head, eyes burning. So my baby is a hybrid. Dr. Chen closed the file. A prototype, yes. And very valuable to the wrong people. She glanced at the closed door. They don't abide scientific ethics. They'll pay to reclaim their asset. Callie swallowed. What do we do? Dr. Chen placed her hands flat on the counter. You need to go off-grid. Hide until we figure out how to protect the child. I can help you access safe houses, but we'll need to scramble your genetic trail, erase any digital or medical breadcrumbs. Fleur squeezed Callie's hand. We trust you. Dr. Chen nodded. Then let's move quickly. The longer you stay visible, the higher the risk. Callie exhaled, steeling herself. All right, let's go. As they rose, the overhead lights buzzed ominously. Callie glanced at the door, imagining government agents bursting in. She glanced at her belly. You're not a weapon, she thought fiercely. You're my hope. Outside, the midday sun felt harsh, too bright, too exposing. Callie slipped her coat around her and locked eyes with Fleur and Eli. We disappear tonight. Eli folded the report. I'll divert any tracking signals. You'll drive. I'll navigate. Callie nodded. Let's save our child. And with that vow echoing in her heart, they slipped into the corridor. 3 fugitives hurtling toward an uncertain future, bound by love and fear. Under a waning moon, Callie popped the trunk of her rented hatchback in a deserted motel parking lot outside D.C. The city skyline flickered distantly, a beacon and a threat. She pulled out 2 duffel bags stuffed with fresh clothes and the recorder from Zane. Fleur and Eli leaned against the car, scanning the shadows. Everything ready? Callie whispered. Fleur nodded. Eli scanned his phone. Dr. Chen's safe house is 2 blocks away, a basement apartment with no digital footprint. Callie closed the trunk. Let's move. They tiptoed down the sidewalk toward a park that buffered upscale row houses from the alley, where Dr. Chen's entrance lay. The park was silent but for rustling leaves. Callie's watch beat 2:17 a.m. She clicked it off. No digital trace. Halfway across a clearing, a figure emerged from behind a magnolia tree. A tall woman in a charcoal coat, hood up. Her gait was fluid, confident. Callie froze. Who? Before she could finish, the stranger extended a gloved hand, handing her a slim USB drive. No words were spoken. Fleur frowned. Why are you giving this to us? The woman lifted her hood, revealing a face Callie had never seen yet felt she recognized. For you, she whispered. They monitor all channels. This is off-grid. Plug it in alone. She paused. Midnight tomorrow. 53rd and M Street. Come alone. And with that, she melted back into the darkness. Callie stared at the drive. Did you catch her? Eli shook his head. Too late. He pocketed the drive. But whoever she is, she's helping. Fleur bit her lip. More mystery. I can't tell if I feel safer or more terrified. Callie placed her hand on Fleur's arm. She risks exposure for us. We take it. She slipped the drive into her pocket. Let's go before someone spots us. They pivoted toward the alley entrance to Dr. Chen's safe house. only to see a pair of headlights sweep the park's edge. A black SUV glided by, its windows tinted. The engine idled briefly before pulling away, without headlights. No pursuit, but ominous. Callie's heart hammered. They're scouting again. Eli scanned the skyline. We're clear for now. Let's move. They slipped down a narrow alley lined with brick walls and fire escapes. At the far end, a discreet door marked B2 awaited. Eli knocked twice, paused, knocked thrice. A buzzer sounded. Dr. Chen's voice. Identify. Eli keyed in the code. The door clicked open. Inside, warm lamplight revealed a cozy basement apartment furnished with vintage books and potted ferns. A single window high on the wall showed the night sky. Dr. Chen greeted them with a relieved smile. Callie handed her the new USB drive. Just arrived. Dr. Chen's eyes narrowed. You risked a contact. Do you know what this could mean? Callie nodded. We need every piece of evidence. Dr. Chen plugged the drive into an off-grid laptop. Let's hope this woman knows what she's doing. They watched as the screen's progress bar inched forward, illuminating their determined faces. Outside, the city exhaled steam and neon, an indifferent observer to their secret war. Dr. Chen's basement glowed only from the laptop screen. The USB drive's icon appeared. Data_drop. Callie held her breath as the file list populated. A single video labeled evidence.mp4. She clicked play. The first frames were grainy surveillance footage, a sterile hallway, flickering fluorescent lights. Zane, pale, gaunt, crept through a side door labeled Biogen Research, Level 3. He held something in his arms that glowed faintly green. His gait was tense, every muscle taut. Callie's chest tightened. That must be what he stole. The scene cut. Zane pressed himself against the wall as a guard in tactical gear marched past, weapon slung low. Zane's hand trembled as he wiped sweat from his brow. He whispered into his wrist-mounted comm, then he slipped around a corner. The video shifted to a lab. Stainless steel counters lined with petri dishes, random vials, a centrifuge. A cylindrical tank pulsed with bioluminescent liquid. Zane edged toward it, eyes scanning. He reached up and unclipped the tank's containment unit, extracting a vial that glowed like captured starlight. A klaxon blared. Red lights flashed. Zane's eyes darted. He tucked the vial into his jacket. Guards swarmed in. He sprinted, knocking over equipment in his haste, shredding papers, spilling chemicals. The screen turned static, then showed Zane hurtling into a service elevator as alarms wailed. Callie's hand shook. He stole one of their prototypes. Dr. Chen paused the video. This confirms everything. Protocol Iris was never theoretical. They've moved from concept to corporeal. That glowing material, genetic enhancer concentrate. Eli leaned forward. If they inject that into a fetus, it could rewrite DNA in utero. Dr. Chen nodded grimly. And they tested it on Zane. They intended to mass-produce enhanced humans with these vials. She clicked Save As and encrypted the file. This is prime evidence. We need to leak it to investigative media beyond the conspirators' reach. Fleur whispered. This video, it proves they committed assault, theft, unsanctioned human experimentation. Dr. Chen tapped the encrypted drive. Exactly. But distributing it will paint a target on our backs. She sighed. We must be surgical. Release it to a trusted journalist under NDA. Then move fast. Callie swallowed. Do you know someone? Dr. Chen closed her laptop and met Callie's eyes. I have one contact at the Atlantic Investigative Desk, a reporter named Marcus Lee. He's known for exposing clandestine programs. If we mail him a dead letter package with physical evidence and instructions to publish at dawn, we have a shot. Eli nodded. We can arrange delivery via courier, untraceable. Callie placed her hand over the recorder in her pocket. Zane's voice would accompany the footage. He said he trusted you, she murmured. Dr. Chen smiled faintly. Let's honor that trust. They worked in hushed coordination, encrypting, printing, and packing the vial schematic, DNA report, and evidence.mp4 on a hardened SSD. Callie's pulse roared as they sealed the package. Outside, the night was still, but the storm they'd unleashed was about to break. Callie's phone vibrated relentlessly at 4 a.m. She jolted awake in Dr. Chen's safe house, dreams of Zane's pale face still vivid. Fleur stirred beside her. Eli pressed a hand to her shoulder. "It's your mother's number." Her heart twisted. It hadn't rung in years. She grabbed the phone. "Home." She answered, voice thick. "Mom." Only static. Then a soft, hoarse whisper. "He came back. He's watching you." The line went dead. Callie's blood ran cold. She stabbed the screen. "What the hell?" Eli snatched the phone. "It's a voicemail." He pressed play messages. A second message. Her mother's voice, trembling. "Callie, if you hear this, I'm gone. Don't trust anyone, not even me." Tears stung Callie's eyes. She's dead. Memory of her mother's funeral 5 years ago flashed. Capricorn Cemetery. Cold stone markers. But this voicemail, it was recorded within the hour. Impossible. Fleur drew in a shaky breath. Somebody recorded her voice to scare you. Callie's jaw clenched. No, that was her. She pressed on the phone's logs. The call originated from a payphone 2 blocks from her childhood home. The messages timestamped 3:47 a.m., 30 minutes ago. Eli's face paled. Someone lured her out, recorded a fake death message. Callie slammed a fist on the bed. They killed her. Dr. Chun, awakened by the commotion, stood in the doorway. What happened? Callie turned, tears streaming. They used my mom to send a warning. Then they killed her. Or so they want me to think. Dr. Chen's lips thinned. We need to verify her status. Callie shook her head. No time. If they can fake her death, they can fake anything. She grabbed her coat. I'm going to the coroner's office. Fleur caught her arm. We can't risk exposure. Callie pulled free. We have to know. She stomped toward the door. Stay here or come with me. Eli exchanged a look with Dr. Chun. I'm with you. He grabbed his jacket. Fleur hesitated, then followed. I'm not losing another family member. They slipped into the pre-dawn streets. Every shadow felt hostile. The coroner's office was a brick building with barred windows. Callie's heart pounded as they entered. Security guard nodded them through with an indifferent glance. Inside, they demanded records. The morgue ledger showed no recent entries for Mary Moore. Befuddled clerks found no record of a body matching her description. No records at the funeral home either. Callie's breath hitched. So she's not dead. Dr. Chin placed a hand on her shoulder. They want you to think she's dead. She pulled up a photo on Callie's phone. A still from the voicemail message. A woman's face in a hood. Too grainy to confirm identity. Eli frowned. We need to get her somewhere safe. Callie nodded, tears streaking her cheeks. She's in danger. Whoever has her is sending me a message. Fleur closed her eyes. They're ruthless. Callie squared her shoulders. Then we show them we're not afraid. She glanced at Dr. Chun. Can you track that payphone? Dr. Chun tapped her phone. Maybe. Let's find out who made that call fast. Outside, the day began to glow. Callie exhaled. We're not just running. We're fighting now. Back at Dr. Chen's safe house, Callie's world tilted. Her mother was missing, possibly captured. The walls enclosed her like a casket. She sank onto the couch, rubbing her temples. Eli knelt beside her, distributing coffee. Fleur unwrapped a battered passport. She'd found tape beneath the bedboard. Callie blinked. Where did you get that? Fleur pointed to the underside of the frame. The safe house came prepped. Whoever set it up must have left this intentionally, hoping we'd overlook it. Callie opened the maroon booklet. Inside, a faded photo stared back. A man with high cheekbones and haunted eyes, Zane's face. Beneath it, typed in block letters, Lucas Varelli. Further down, date of birth, March 12, 1992. Nationality, Italian. Status, deceased. Callie's breath caught. Lucas Varelli. Zane's real name. Dr. Chin studied the document. Look at the issuance date. Callie scrolled to the data stamp. January 7th, 2018, 7 years ago. And the death declaration. February 14th, 2024. 3 months ago. Fleur's hand shook. So Zane Lucas was declared dead last February. Callie slammed the passport shut. He died on paper. No wonder the police found no records. Eli nodded grimly. This was their cleanup protocol. Erase him legally so they could cover up Project Seraphim casualties. Callie paced. He faked his death, or they killed him in the labs. Her voice cracked. He trusted me. I need to prove he's alive. Dr. Chun tapped the passport. This is strong evidence of identity fraud. We could use it to force an investigation, if we can find a jurisdictional loophole. Callie sank into a chair. But first I need to find my mom and Zane. Fleur laid a gentle hand on her knee. We'll find both. Callie exhaled. Okay, what do we know? Lucas/Varelli lived in Italy before what? Before they recruited him. Eli consulted his notes. He was a biotech grad student in Milan. Then he disappeared. No records after 2017. Dr. Chin stood. I can access Interpol requests through a colleague. We might track movements before his death. But time is critical. Callie clenched her fists. Then we do it now. We split tasks. Fleur, you trace my mother's last known calls. Eli, you coordinate with Interpol contact. Dr. Chun, you marshal the evidence for the journalist. I'll reach out to contacts in Italy. They formed a tight circle, eyes gleaming with purpose. Outside, Washington's dawn deepened, traffic threading through the empty streets. In that moment, Callie felt the war shift, from defense to offense. She touched the passport. Lucas Varelli. Not dead. Not gone. Zane was alive, somewhere. And her mother might be too. Callie rose. Let's rewrite the ending. They dispersed to their tasks, hearts steeled for the battles ahead, each step bringing them closer to truth, justice, and the people they loved. Callie stood before the wrought iron gates of Capricorn Cemetery as dusk settled in violet shadows. The towering oaks swayed in a wind that whispered secrets through their leaves. Each breath she drew tasted of cold earth and lost hope. In her hand, she clutched the crumpled passport bearing the name Lucas Varelli, deceased. Tonight, she would confront that lie. She crossed the gravel path, footsteps echoing beneath the solemn arc of tombstones. Lanterns flickered along the walkway, casting quivering halos. At the far end, a modest marble headstone caught the last crimson light. Lucas Varelli, 1992 to 2024. Beneath it was a small plot, bordered by freshly turned soil. A single rose lay atop the grave, its petals dark with dew. Callie knelt, fingertips brushing the engraved letters. Her heart thundered. She pushed aside fallen leaves and found the edge of a concrete slab. With trembling fingers, she peeled back a corner of sod. Once, her mother had taught her how to plant bulbs this way. Now she levered the slab. The stone shifted with a hollow groan. A chill raced up her spine as she pried the slab free. Beneath, a metal coffin lid gleamed under her flashlight, sealed with heavy bolts. She pressed her ear to the cool metal and heard nothing but silence. She slid a long screwdriver from her bag, Eli's suggestion, and jammed it into the lock. The bolt yielded with an echoing snap. Callie's breath came in tight hitches. She lifted the lid inch by inch, each scrape against metal magnified in the still air. When the lid cleared the rim, she froze. The coffin was empty. No body, no shroud, no bones. Only the echo of a promise broken. Her knees buckled as the moon slipped behind clouds. Behind her, the wind sighed. She closed her eyes, image of Zane's pale face flickering behind her eyelids. His desperate plea in the bakery kitchen, one night to disappear. A memory she had cherished now tasted of betrayal. Callie shut the coffin lid and replaced the slab, her hands trembling like leaves in a storm. She pressed her palms to the marble headstone. You lied to me, she whispered, voice raw. Or they lied for you. The passport's name, the declared death, it had all been a ruse. To bury him alive on paper. To erase him. To keep his secret. Callie stood, shoulders squared against the creeping fear. She brushed soil from her palms, letting it fall between her fingers like dark rain. The empty grave was a message. He was alive. Somewhere. And the conspiracy ran deeper than she'd imagined. She turned toward the exit, boots crunching on gravel. Each step felt heavier, laden with both dread and determination. She had chased a ghost tonight, and found the void where truth should have lain. But in that emptiness lay her greatest hope. Zane lived, and she would find him. The cemetery gate creaked shut behind her as she slipped into the night. Above, the first stars blinked to life, guiding her onward. Back at Eli's secluded cabin, Callie's nerves crackled like static as she flicked on the lone desk lamp. The cabin smelled of pine and old paper, an incongruous comfort. Fleur glanced at her, worry etched in her eyes. Eli placed the crumpled Project Seraphim folder on the oak table. Callie exhaled. This is it. She eased into the wooden chair, hard hammering. Inside the manila folder were thick documents stamped confidential and human plus enhancement. She loosened her grip on the folder's edge, anticipating revelation. Eli flipped open the top file. These are the original proposals. He tapped blueprints of double helix schematics entwined with silver circuitry. Here's where they explained the iris implant, an ocular nanotech system. Zane's tattoo coordinates, his escape map, were encoded in his neural interface. Callie's breath caught. They mapped his body. He had no privacy. She studied diagrams of fetal development charts overlaid with glowing insets, images of unborn forms pulsating with bioluminescence. This shows gene splicing protocols. Fleur pointed to handwritten margin notes. Look, subject Virelli shows accelerated neuroplastic response. Recommend phase 2 gestational trials. Her voice trembled. That's my baby. Callie pressed a finger to her lips. They planned this before conception. Her skin tingled as if the room itself was alive. They weaponized life. Eli nodded grimly. Phase 1, adult prototype. Phase 2, in utero infusion. Babies like yours, a generation of enhanced children. He closed the file. They covered their tracks with false deaths and locked facilities. Callie's chest tightened. Where is this control center now? Eli flipped through page after page. Coordinates here, Fort Carson, Colorado. Biofort facility. They moved operations underground after the cabin burned. He paused at a handwritten label. Secure Vault, Code Alpha. This vault stores remaining vials, records, and subject data. Callie stared at the note. We expose this. We free Zane and stop them. Her voice was firm, but tremors ran through her limbs. Fleur touched Callie's shoulder. But it's halfway across the country. Eli slid a detailed map toward Callie. We fly undercover. I can get us falsified IDs. We'll arrive as a research team requiring auditing. We'll retrieve the contents, vials, files, everything. Dr. Chun can publish the records. Callie gulped. Risky. Eli's eyes met hers. Deadly. But if we don't, they'll reclaim your child, and they're ruthless. Silence settled. Callie inhaled, tasting pine and paper dust. She thought of her empty arms at the graveyard. Zane lost in clandestine networks, her unborn child a target. I'm in, she said, voice steady. Fleur exhaled relieved. Me too. Eli exulted quietly, then steeled himself. Tomorrow we prepare. Tonight we rest. Callie picked up the dossier, tracing faded ink lines. The cabin's rustic walls felt momentarily suffocating. She pondered how human ambition could warp science into a weapon. Her resolve burned. She would dismantle Protocol Iris. As she lay in bed that night, the folder secured under her mattress, Callie stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow, they would chase the conspirators into their lair and unearth the truth that had been buried for too long. Callie woke in the pre-dawn hush, beads of sweat matting her hair. Images from Zane's feverish whisper trailed behind her eyelids. She sat up, breathing hard, as the cabin's warmth enveloped her. Fleur and Eli still slept, their gentle snores harmonizing with wind against pine. She reached for the leather journal Zane had left her, its pages lined with frantic scrawl. A passage leapt out. They'll come for the child. He's not supposed to exist. Her pulse quickened. She closed her eyes, drifting into the memory of Zane's fever dream months ago, when he'd collapsed in her bakery kitchen, fever scorching his voice. She saw him slumped on her stool, eyes wild, feverish sheen on his skin. His breath rattled as he spoke. Voice raspy. Callie, they're watching. The protocol is flawed. This child, they didn't count on him being real. He clutched at his chest. I see them in my dreams, sterile corridors, those suits, calling out numbers like he's inventory. He trembled. They'll come for the child. He's not supposed to exist. She cradled him, her own tears hot as mercy. You'll be fine. They can't touch you here. He stared at her, fear and love colliding in his eyes. Promise me, Callie. If I don't, protect him. She pressed her fingers to his forehead, fanning the heat. I promise. Back in the cabin, Callie kissed the page. She slid on her boots, voice whispering. You were right. She crept outside, the forest wrapped in dawn's pale mist. She followed a narrow deer trail that led to the stream behind the cabin. Water gurgled over mossy stones, nature's pulse calmer than her own. She bent to cup her hands and splash cold water on her face. Frost bit her cheeks, clearing her mind. She gazed at ripples spreading across the surface. The memory of Zane's dream now glowed with urgency. Footsteps sounded behind her. Fleur emerged, coat cinched tight. Can't sleep either? Callie shook her head. His warning, it's more than a dream. She ran a hand down her belly. They really will come for the child. Fleur nodded solemnly. That's why we can't wait. They walked back to the cabin in silence, passing through shafts of soft light that filtered through trees. Callie's mind raced with plans. The Colorado raid, the press expose. But most of all, she felt the ache of Zane's fading warmth. Inside, Eli stirred. Callie met his eyes. He dreamed it before it happened. They will come. Eli rose, voice quiet but resolute. Then we'll beat them there. Callie pressed a hand to the journal's binding. Zane's fever dream had lit the path. Now, they would follow it to the end, and ensure his warning wasn't prophecy, but a catalyst to victory. The Denver airport's hum was a jarring contrast to the hush of the cabin. Callie, Fleur, and Eli moved through crowds in plain clothes, blending into the tide of travelers. Their forged IDs named them Moore, Fields, and Dawson, part of an innocuous research audit team. Callie kept her grip tight on the leather journal, the Project Seraphim, files tucked in a discreet backpack. They rented a black SUV and drove into the foothills, winding roads leading to an isolated ranch on the edge of Rocky Mountain Forest. The ranch manager, arranged by Dr. Chen's contacts, greeted them with a nod and led them through corrugated steel barns to a small, stark trailer. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed over 2 chairs and a table. A woman sat in one chair, pale-skinned, dark-haired, exhausted. Her hand rested protectively on her swollen belly. Callie's heart lurched. The woman looked up, eyes misting. Claire Benson. Claire's voice trembled. You're Callie Moore. Callie paused by the door. You received the message. Claire nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. I woke up with the same text you did. We were never together. I thought it was a prank. Then I saw his face, the man I loved, and I was pregnant. Fleur closed the trailer door softly. Zane Lucas used multiple names. You know him as someone else. Claire swallowed hard. He called himself Daniel Reed when we met. He was so careful, changed his accent, his background story. But the way he looked at me, unforgettable. She lifted her head. He told me I was special. Said our child would change the world. Callie's pulse hammered. He told me the same. She sat beside Claire, careful not to startle her. He warned me not to trust anyone. They're targeting our children. Claire's lips trembled. I thought I was alone. I thought he vanished for good. She opened her coat, revealing a fresh tattoo above her ankle, the same coordinates. I was supposed to forget. Claire traced the ink marker. I went to those coordinates, an abandoned warehouse in Chicago. I hid in the shadows as a black van chased me. Her voice cracked. Then they told me to stop asking questions, or I'd lose more than my child. Callie felt turmoil twist inside her. You made it this far. They haven't taken you. Claire exhaled shakily. I'm scared. They know I talked to a nurse at the clinic. I ran half a continent to get here. Eli leaned forward. You're safe now. He placed a folder on the table. Here's evidence, files, specs, everything. You're part of a larger cohort. He tapped the leather dossier. Claire, you and your baby are prime subjects. Claire's hand flew to her mouth. You saved me. Callie reached across and squeezed Claire's fist. We saved them all. Claire stood, resolve blooming in her eyes. Then I'm in. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Callie nodded, tears of relief glinting. We're building a family, our own resistance. Outside, storm clouds gathered over the Rockies. Inside, 5 hearts beat in unison, mothers for their children, united against a conspiracy that treated life as ammunition. They gathered around the table, forging a new plan, expose the program, rescue Zane, and ensure their children would grow without fear. And for the first time since her heartbreak, Callie felt hope, shared hope, blossoming in the storm. The makeshift war council convened in the ranch's dim kitchen, the counter strewn with blueprints, passports, and vials of biological samples. Callie, Fleur, Eli, and Claire huddled around the table, strategic urgency in their eyes. Zane's recorder lay beside them, its battery low, but filled with his final plea. Claire broke the silence. So that's it. We were never accidents. They picked us. She traced circles on her belly. Chosen for what? Our bloodlines. Our genetics. Eli tapped a vial labeled Iris Prototype, V3. Its amber glow eerie under the kitchen's fluorescent lights. Project Seraphim's Phase 2. They designed us, women like Callie and Claire, to carry hybrid offspring. He exhaled. Genetic templates were encoded in our DNA, so our bodies could nurture enhanced embryos. Callie swallowed, heart pounding. We were lab rats. Dr. Chen's recorder played softly in the background, Zane's voice urging them to fight. Callie stood and pressed pause. She met Claire's eyes. We have to expose every step. The world needs to know they treated us as test tubes, not people. Fleur nodded. But first, we rescue Zane. She pointed at the map. Fort Carson, Colorado Biofort Facility. The secure vault. That's where they hold him, and the remaining vials. Claire's face paled. It's military-grade security. Eli rolled out the blueprints. They run it like a fortress, perimeter sensors, armed guards, biometric locks. But they rely on secrecy. We have evidence that will force an internal breach. He tapped a schematic of the vault door. We can bypass the secondary access tunnel. They use it for supply runs. Dr. Chen's voice crackled from the recorder. Adrienne Chen, The Atlantic. She would publish the dossier at dawn. The conspiracy's head would roll under public outrage. We just need to buy time. Callie folded her arms. I'll lead the incursion. Zane risked everything for us. We owe him rescue. Fleur squeezed her hand. I'm with you. Claire exhaled. And I'll stay behind and coordinate the press release. If anything goes wrong. Her voice faltered. Callie reached across. We won't let it go wrong. Eli smiled faintly. We move at dusk. Dress as maintenance crew. We'll have 10 minutes in the supply tunnel before the next shift rotates. Claire walked to the window, eyes on the gathering storm. My baby kicks sometimes. It's like he senses danger. She gently touched her belly. He's alive in there. Callie joined her. He's our reason. She drew in a shaky breath. We end this for our children. Thunder rumbled over the Rockies. They formed a circle in the kitchen, hands stacked at its center. Callie led softly. For Zane. Fleur echoed. For our mothers. Claire added. For our babies. Eli finished. For truth. They broke, resolve blazing. Outside, lightning forked across the sky, illuminating the mountain ridges. They packed their gear, tools, files. A single vial of the glow-in-the-dark enhancer as proof. Callie shouldered her bag, thinking of the empty coffin, the fever dream, and the stranger in the park whose warning had led her here. Tonight, they would storm the fortress of lies. Tonight, they would show the world that life cannot be weaponized. As they stepped onto the porch, rain began to fall, first in drops, then in sheets. Callie raised her face to the storm. In that downpour, she felt baptismal clarity. They were not victims, they were survivors, and the experiments that birthed nightmares would spark a revolution of hope. Together, They marched into the gathering storm. Claire sat before her laptop in the gutted living room of the safe house, the hum of the generator her only company. She'd meticulously compiled the dossier, DNA reports, surveillance video, internal memos, and encrypted it with Dr. Chen's credentials. Outside, the storm she had ridden in on rattled the windows, thunder conspiring with her pounding heart. At exactly 5:02 a.m., she pressed send, dispatching the package to Marcus Lee at the Atlantic. Moments later, her inbox lit up with an automated confirmation. Your secure upload has been received and will be published at 6 a.m. She exhaled, relief mingling with dread. For years, the conspirators had hidden behind classified seals and false identities. Today, the world would see their crimes. She rose and paced, hands trembling. As the clock edged toward dawn, she packed a duffel, clean clothes, her phone, wiped of all personal data, a single vial of Iris Prototype V3 as exhibit. Then she noticed the message carved into the plaster by the front door. Truth dies with you. Her breath caught. The letters were jagged and fresh, gouged into the cheap drywall by steel claws. Panic spiked. Whoever did this watched her movements and knew her location. She dropped to her knees and smoothed splinters from the floor. Tears burned at her eyes. Fear for her child, fury at their cruelty. She yanked open her duffel and slipped in the vial, then called Fleur on a burner phone. It's compromised, she whispered. Get out. Now. On the other end, Fleur's voice cracked. I'm on my way. Claire bolted from the door, rain lashing her face as she sprinted across the overgrown yard. Her boots sank into mud, each step a battle. She scrambled over the fence and ducked into the trees, duffel bouncing against her spine. Every crack of a twig made her heart hammer. Inside the Biofort facility on the other side of the country, Callie and Eli pressed deeper into the secured corridors. Smoke grenades hissed from crates they'd rigged earlier. Guards ran blindly into blazes that erupted down hallways. Alarms shrieked. Red strobes pulsed more urgently than their racing pulses. Callie's gloved hand trembled as she keyed in the vault's override sequence from Dr. Chen's files. The massive door rumbled and swung open to reveal shelves of glowing vials and locked cases filled with human subject data. She and Eli moved with precision, snatching the Iris vials, hauling out encrypted drives, photographs, and call logs. Move! Eli barked as fire spread beneath the racks. They had minutes before the sprinklers failed or the structure collapsed. Callie stuffed the last vial into her pack. She paused, inhaling acrid smoke, heart pounding. We have it all. They sprinted back through smoke-choked corridors, the facility's skeleton groaning behind them. Guards surfaced at the exit. Callie fired a single warning shot into the air. They ducked beneath laser tripwires, bodies slick with sweat and fear. Outside, rain fell in tidal sheets. Callie and Eli plunged into the blackout, vials and evidence clutched close. A massive explosion rocked the building, flames tearing through the roof. They didn't look back. They raced toward the tree lane, where a stolen SUV idled with Claire and Fleur already inside, their faces streaked with mud and tears of relief. Callie threw open the passenger door. Get in. Claire shut the door, just as the blast shockwave rattled the windows. You did it, she gasped. Callie shook her head fiercely, eyes alight with both triumph and grief. We destroyed their weapons. We burned it all down. Fleur strapped in. Now we vanish. Engines roared, tires spun, and the SUV leapt into the stormy night. Firelight flickered behind them, an inferno marking the end of Protocol Iris and the beginning of its reckoning. Dawn's first light was a pale promise as the SUV thundered down a back road towards safe territory. Claire lay in the back seat, clutching the precious vials and drives. Callie sat beside her, stare fixed on the horizon. Fleur drove, eyes darting through the windshield's gloom. Suddenly, a figure staggered onto the road ahead. Fleur slammed the brakes, tires screeched. Callie yanked the door open and leapt out into mud and rain. Fleur followed. In the dim morning mist stood Zane, gaunt, disheveled, wild-eyed, bearing fresh wounds and trembling as if life itself had been ripped from him. Zane! Callie sank to her knees. His lips parted in a broken smile, an offering of both relief and pain. You came back. He swayed, exhaustion carved into his face. I heard the explosion, he rasped. I had to get here. He sank to the wet ground, arms open. Callie wrapped him in a desperate embrace, tears soaking his jacket. Fleur stepped forward, hand outstretched. It's good to see you alive. Zane's eyes flicked to the burning facilities, plume visible in the distance. I escaped the holding cells during the riot. They thought the fire was a sideshow. He coughed, embers of emotion in his voice. I followed your signal flares. I knew you'd come. Callie pulled back, searching his face. They declared you dead, on paper and in every database. How did you survive? Zane managed a weak laugh. Lucas Varelli died on schedule. But Iris endured. He touched his chest. I fought the implants, they malfunctioned. I collapsed face first in the cell, and the guards thought I was dead. They left me among the bodies. He shuddered. I woke later, surrounded by the burned-out shells of other subjects. Fleur's voice was gentle. You're safe now. Zane closed his eyes. As long as you're with me. His gaze flicked to the duffel. Do you have it? Callie nodded, lifting the pack. Every vial. Every file. She set it beside him. Protocol Iris is in ashes. The world knows. Zane's lips curved. Hope and haunting sadness entwined. Thank you. He rasped. You saved me. Callie cupped his face. You saved us, all of us. He winced, muscles coiling in pain. I never should have doubted your strength. His voice wavered. I thought I protected you by staying in the shadows. Callie pressed a hand to his wound on his side. We protect each other. She glanced at Fleur's steady silhouette behind the wheel. Now we disappear, but we're not alone. Zane managed a nod. I helped you burn it all down. Now let me help you heal. Callie brushed a lock of hair from his forehead. We start by finding our mothers, making sure they're safe. Zane lifted his head, determination igniting in his eyes. Then we reclaim our lives. They returned to the SUV, pressing in tight against the cold dawn. Fleur slipped behind the wheel and roared the engine to life. As they sped away from the smoking ruins, Zane looked back once more, then forward, toward an uncertain horizon made brighter by their reunion. The safe house's single lamp cast long shadows on the walls as Callie, Claire, Zane, Fleur, and Eli gathered around the table strewn with evidence. The early morning news feed flickered on a battered TV. A breaking story banner declared, exclusive, Iris Project exposed. Marcus Lee's face filled the screen, grave, resolute. This is it? Claire whispered, clutching Callie's hand. They're finally reporting every detail. Callie watched as Lee narrated footage of the Biofort facility's explosion, DNA reports, and confidential memos. The broadcast cut to interviews with Dr. Chun and an anonymous whistleblower, Eli, whose voice was distorted but whose presence signaled the coalition's collapse. Eli cleared his throat. The truth was kept in secret vaults, but no more. The feed switched to a montage of published documents, ledger entries showing forced subjects, blueprints for hybrid enhancement, and snapshots of children like Claire's and Callie's unborn, catching public outrage worldwide. On the street outside, horns blared in protest. Across the city, thousands rallied outside government buildings demanding accountability. The conspirators' contacts were being arrested. Classified seals were voided. International tribunals convened. Zane pressed a trembling hand to his heart. They did it. Fleur exhaled, tears glinting. Our children will have a future. Callie stood and switched off the TV. Silence bloomed. She met each of their eyes. This victory, it belongs to all of us. Claire nodded. To my baby and to yours. She placed a hand on her belly. They'll grow up knowing they have rights. Dr. Chen's recorded voice, played once more for encouragement, echoed in Callie's mind. You must ensure this never happens again. Zane folded his hands. We need to rebuild our lives, but on our terms. Eli added quietly. We must protect the children of other subjects, those who remain captive. He tapped the encrypted drives. There are more files here, identities, locations. We can coordinate rescues. Callie's chest swelled. Then we become a network, families who survived Iris, watching over each other. Fleur's gaze flicked to the window. We should move the safe house. Public attention is intense. Callie smiled gently. We'll relocate. But first, she pulled Elise's journal, the one Zane had written in fever. She opened to the last entry, his handwriting jagged. They thought they controlled life. But life chooses its own path. We are its stewards. She met Zane's eyes. That was our final truth. He reached for her hand. And you lived it. They rose as one, forming a circle. Rain pattered against the roof, renewal washing over their world. In that moment, they were not fugitives but heralds of a new dawn, a dawn where every child, enhanced or born, would be free. The hidden airstrip lay cloaked in pre-dawn mist as the group approached on foot, suitcases trailing behind. A single propeller plane waited on the tarmac, guarded by one quartermaster, an ally Dr. Chun had secured. The conspirators' drones still buzzed overhead, searching for fugitives. Callie's heart thundered. You ready? Fleur asked, voice tight. Callie drew in a steady breath. As we'll ever be. They boarded quickly. Claire settled with her child strapped in a carrier. Zane tucked the recorder into his jacket. Eli carried the encrypted drives. Fleur steered the plane. Callie climbed into the co-pilot's seat, scanning the dark horizon. A sudden flash lit the sky. Anti-aircraft searchlights. The plane's engines roared to life as the quartermaster slammed the cockpit door. They found us early. Hang on. Wheels screeched as the propeller churned. Callie's hands gripped the controls as the plane thundered down the runway. Below them, guards spilled out of tents, weapons raised. Bullets ricocheted off the metal fuselage. The plane lifted, stall, a violent lurch, but Fleur held the yoke steady. Smoke trailed from the left engine, a hot omen. Zane clutched Callie's shoulder. Keep going. Thunder rolled as they climbed through low clouds. The quartermaster yanked at a lever. Emergency flaps are jammed. We'll lose lift soon. Callie's mind raced. They had to clear the airspace and ditch before pursuit closed in. She banked hard, veering toward a ridge of hills. Below, searchlights fought for purchase in the mist. Fleur's knuckles whitened. I'm bleeding fuel fast. Claire whispered a prayer. Please, God, let us be free. Eli jammed a headset on Callie's head. We can't land. They'll be waiting. We'll parachute into the forest beyond that valley. He pointed at a patch of dark trees. Callie exhaled. Then that's our escape. She handed the control stick to Fleur. Help me open the rear hatch. They pumped their boots toward the cargo door. The quartermaster unlocked it and wedged it ajar. Rain splattered in, extinguishing the cabin lights. Below, searchlights carved the blackness into jagged shapes. Fleur cursed. They're launching a net. Callie nodded, adrenaline stealing her. Go. They leapt into the downpour, each strapped to a parachute and the precious cargo. Claire's child, the recorder, the vials, and the drives. The plane vanished overhead as they plummeted into the misty valley. Wind whipped their faces as they drifted past treetops. Branches slapped their jumpsuits. Zane reached his daughter first. Cling to me, he yelled over the roar. Claire's arms wrapped around the child. Mom. Callie and Eli flared their chutes to the last moment, gliding toward a hidden clearing. They landed with rough thuds, vines tangling their boots. Claire collapsed, clutching her baby. Rain turned soft as dawn's first rays illuminated the forest. The group huddled, eyes shining with relief. They'd escaped through fire, smoke, and storm, carrying the last truths against the wind. Callie touched Fleur's arm. We did it. Fleur smiled wearily. We're alive. Eli gazed skyward. And so is hope. They vanished into the green shadows, fugitives no more but pioneers of their own destiny. A soft breeze stirred the tall grass on the secluded farmland, where Callie now lived with her family. The sun warmed the hillside, dappling the pasture with golden light. Claire's laughter drifted from the orchard where she and Fleur tended young fruit trees alongside their children. Birds praised the morning. Callie stepped from her cottage onto the porch, cupping a mug of tea. She watched Zane at the barn door, stronger now, his skin healed, his gaze steady as he guided their son, 8 months old, learning to walk between hay bales. The boy's steps were quick, confident, Already at 10 months, he outpaced his father. "Look," Zane called. "Daddy's right here." Their son turned and beamed, limbs wobbling as he toddled toward them. Callie set down her mug and knelt. The child threw himself into her arms, chubby arms wrapped tight. "Mommy," he giggled, breath warm against her cheek. She lifted him, pressing her forehead to his, marveling at the miracle in her arms. Her eyes, sparkled with mischief and brilliance. Inside, Claire and Fleur unloaded a basket of ripe apples. Claire hummed a tune Zane once sang in the clinic hallway, a promise of new beginnings. Fleur's daughter, now 3, chased a lamb through the pasture, laughter echoing against rolling hills. Life here was simple, no safe houses, no conspirators. Just families who had endured the storm and emerged whole. The world beyond was still healing, the fallout of Protocol Iris investigations rippling through tribunals and reforms. But here peace reigned. Zane joined Callie on the porch, draping an arm around her shoulders. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "He walked at 8 months, he said softly. "Faster than any child should." Callie smiled, tears bright in her eyes. "He's extraordinary." He traced a finger along their son's cheek. "Better than human." She laughed, placing a kiss on his temple. "He's our miracle." Their son squirmed, pointing toward the horizon. "Son." Callie stood, carrying him toward the field where the wheat shimmered like gold. The boys laughed a sword. They reached the crest, and he turned in her arms, raising his tiny fists to the sky. "Dad says it's time to go back," he whispered in their shared language, Jane, a phrase Zane taught him on his first day of talking. Callie set him down. He pointed toward the lane that led back to the road. She and Zane exchanged a knowing glance. Their child was ready to reclaim more than just a hidden life, ready to step into a world that must never forget the cost of secrets. Zane knelt, beckoning the boy. "Let's go home." Hand in hand, they walked back to the cottage, 3 lives woven by love, survival, and the promise that truth endures. Behind them, the orchard's blossoms swayed, heralding a new season, and as they crossed the threshold into their home, the door closing softly behind them, the world beyond knew they would return, stronger, unbroken, and ready to ensure history never repeated itself. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please like, comment, and share. Also turn on the bell to get more of our videos. See you in the next story.